Is there a potential for low doses of GLP-1s to be used for people in the menopausal transition? Actually, I think there is. The controversy around creatine. In the media, it's been touted as basically the cure-all for everything, and it's just not. I think not every woman needs testosterone. In fact, I think that there is risk associated with these hormones. Hormones are like playing with fire. You don't want too much. Welcome to another episode of the Save Yourself podcast. As you can see, I'm in a new studio. This is my new home for the Save Yourself podcast. And I've done this because, listen, we have gotten through a few episodes, a bunch of episodes, and I'm really starting to learn and grow from everything that you've been telling me. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your reviews. Like, that is what makes the show run. As you know, we're not really doing sponsorships right now with the show. There's a few things, like obviously I have my own programs and a few things coming up for my teams. Like, for example, I have the tribe coming up. That is something where if you wanted to be a part of the book launch and you want to see the behind the scenes and you want to try the plan out before everybody else, this is something that you should check out. If you're on my newsletter, you'll learn all about it. It's at amymdwellness.com, and you can see the sign up for the newsletter right there, or you can go to amymdwellness.com/newsletter. You can get it there. I wanted to talk today about a few controversial topics. It is almost done, halfway done through 2025, and so much has changed. GLP-1 medications have really stormed through the wellness and health and fitness space. And there's so much divide and there's so much conversations. And one of the biggest questions I get is, are GLP-1s something that we should be taking? Are we supposed to be microdosing it for menopause and perimenopause? Are we supposed to be doing it for brain inflammation and preventing Alzheimer's and all of those things? And then another hot topic is creatine. Should we all be taking creatine? Is the hype really substantiated by the science? So those are some topics. I know you want actionable tips. So at the end of this episode, you will get some actionable tips that will improve your life. I want to start out each episode from now on with a quote. This is a quote that I'm actually going to be sharing on social media. It is a new word. Well, it's not new, but it's a word that a lot of us are feeling. It is a conglomerate of multiple words. And I'll tell you, it's called exhausted, and stimulated. So it's a feeling of being exhausted, overwhelmed, and overstimulated all at once. It's an adjective. And a lot of us are feeling this way. And I wanted to share this with you because I think I felt this way, that this was exactly the old me: exhausted, overwhelmed, and overstimulated all the time. And when I got into this big car accident and I realized that I needed to change my life from inside out, I decided to start with the exhaustion and start with the feeling that I really didn't love who I was seeing in the mirror. I actually hated the person I was seeing in the mirror, and starting from there. So if you're feeling like this, you're not alone. This was literally the reason why I started my own transformation, then started to share it for all of you. So you don't have to be my old self. You can learn from the mistakes that I've made and really just transform yourself into the new self. And the new self is always a work in progress. I'm not saying that there's no like destination that we're trying to get to. We're just trying to get better and better every day. So with that being said, a few things I wanted. None of these are sponsored, but I'm wearing Rhone, RHONE. This is literally has become my go-to outfit. The clothes are buttery soft. Like, I love them. So, and then I've been having this low sugar kombucha lately. It's from Whalebird. It's called Kombucha Light. And I like it because it has just like 5 grams of sugar as opposed to the regular kombucha, which is often full of sugar. I have no connection to either of these companies, but I just like their products. So let's get into it. So number one, let's talk about GLP-1. So GLP-1 medications. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you might not have heard about the GLP-1s, but if everybody else really has, they are medications that are help with weight loss. They help with diabetes. They can help with cardiovascular disease. They can help with liver, fatty liver. They can help with kidney issues. There's various off-label uses for them. So a lot of people are asking, why shouldn't we just use GLP-1s, especially in perimenopause? So let's talk about semaglutide and tirzepatide in particular. Microdosing, first of all, there's no real definition of microdosing. So we have to decide what we mean. Are we looking for appetite reduction? Are we looking for weight loss? Are we looking for lowered inflammation? Are we looking for something else? So long story short, there's really no studies on microdosing. Everything that we've heard about microdosing has been through experiences from patients and physicians and influencers, et cetera. Is there a potential for low doses of GLP-1s to be used for people in the menopausal transition? Actually, I think there is. Now, this is coming from the data that we're finding that it does lower inflammation, that it does help with appetite reduction. It does help with inflammation of the liver. It does help with cardiovascular disease and diabetes. A vast majority of women I see that are concerned about this often have a risk factor. Either they're pre-diabetic and they have a strong family history of diabetes. They are have a strong family history of heart disease, or they're overweight and they're looking for a solution to get to normal weight. And they're doing all the things properly. They're exercising, they're eating right. So I do think there is not necessarily microdose, but low dose. I've talked to a bunch of obesity medicine specialists about this. Now, I am not an obesity medicine physician. So that is very, very clear that I actually, as a physician, talk to my obesity medicine trained colleagues. And if you want to hear the episode that I did with Dr. Richa Mittal, who is an obesity trained medicine physician, you should go check that out, because we talked a lot about the indications, about the contraindications, who should be on it. And we did broach the subject of using low dose GLP-1 medications for somebody who is in that perimenopausal transition. Maybe they're 45 and they're really struggling to keep their A1C under control, and they're really struggling to keep their cardiovascular risk factors like cholesterol under control. There's a big group of those people who are doing everything else right, but suffering in that case. And in that case, there is a role for GLP-1s. And you can listen to that episode because she goes into a lot more detail. But here is the bottom line. We don't have any data supporting microdosing. However, if you are someone who's in the menopausal transition and you're wondering if a GLP-1 medication at lower doses could be right for you, it is a great discussion to have with your obesity medicine trained physician. And in my opinion, I think it can be a great option for those that are looking for better blood sugar control, better cardiovascular risk factors, and they just are having trouble doing it because the menopausal transition is really tough. And it's a controversial take, but I think it's worth trying if you are someone who is okay with the risk-benefit profile of that. So that's kind of my take on it. For example, this is not the same thing, but my dad has diabetes, type 2, and he is a little bit overweight, especially with South Asians. They don't necessarily look overweight, but their waist circumference, his waist circumference is on the higher side. And so I did recommend that he look into GLP-1 agonists because it's an indication. He has type 2 diabetes. He and has multiple reasons why he should try it. And I think there's no shame in seeking this kind of help if you need it. So that's my take. There is no necessarily huge trials. And when we talk about microdosing, I'm not really sure what that even means because there's no definition. But if we're talking about low doses, that's what I've been referring to this whole time. So as you know, there's no like FDA approvals for something like appetite suppression and glycemic control, but it could be useful in the setting of menopause. All right, let's go on to our second topic, which is creatine. Creatine has been all the hype because it has strong evidence for muscle strength, power output, high intensity exercise performance, and lean body mass, especially when paired with resistance training. So here is the magic word, and I'm going to cut to the chase here. Creatine is not magic powder. I think that in the media, it's been touted as basically the cure-all for everything, and it's just not. It has to be paired with resistance training to get any of the benefit. To say that just by taking creatine that you can have this cut, muscular, strong body, that's just false. So that's that. Now, the problem with creatine is that there's really good evidence. It's old and there's lots of good studies on it, especially when it comes to muscle strength and power and some cognitive support, neuroprotective effects. But it's hard to market because it's really inexpensive. And so it's hard for companies to find angles that make them stand out. So there's lots of companies that said it won't make you bulky, it'll make you toned, or it won't cause GI side effects, or it won't. And all of those things are false. There's really not a big way to prevent that. You likely would want, as a woman, about 3 grams a day, 3 to 5 if you're a man, and you don't need to cycle it. You should take it with food or carbohydrates for better uptake. You often want to, take a loading dose to really get it into your system. There's some good evidence that if you've had a really bad night of sleep, that you can take a large dose, like a loading dose, 10 to 20 grams, and actually get some short-term benefit even that day with your cognition. So I think that's really important. The cognitive support benefits is really stronger when you look at people who are stressed or sleep deprived. So that's creatine. Now, the controversy around creatine. Will creatine make you healthier and more muscular? No, creatine must be paired with resistance training. There is nothing better than resistance training, weightlifting, to make you stronger and make your bones healthier. So I think the thought that anything, including protein and creatine, can substitute exercise is kind of a myth, and something that I want to myth bust, that creatine is this magic thing. So I have nothing against creatine. There's such great evidence for anti-inflammatory benefits, cognitive support, for muscle and power, for high intensity exercise. But what my problem is to think the kind of social media glamour of it, where it's like you take creatine and all your problems are over. That's not the case. And there's lots of different types. I've been experimenting with different types. I've taken the Mind Body green one. I like that one. I've taken a bunch of different, I have so many different ones at home. And I just think that creatine is something that is great, but I think it's having a moment. And I think, lots of different companies trying to capitalize on this moment. And I just want to let you know, what's fact and what's hype. So yes, great creatine, but no, not the magic. No, you can't stop exercising. All of a sudden you'll have muscles. No, it is supposed to be paired with exercise, and it's only going to work that way. So that's kind of the next myth. The third controversial thing is hormone therapy. Now, hormone therapy, menopause hormone therapy, MHT, is not really that controversial anymore. I think you've probably heard on social media that there was a lot of fear around menopause hormone therapy. Back when I was in training, menopause hormone therapy was really taboo because a Nurses' Health study came out. And there was a lot of pushback against it. So, of course, now the tide has completely turned, and menopause hormone therapy is all the rage. And so is testosterone. So let's talk about testosterone. So testosterone improves libido, energy, mood, bone density, muscle mass, and red blood cell count. Sounds amazing, right? Possible risks. You can have increased red blood cells. You can have suppressed fertility. You can have acne, hair loss, gynecomastia for men, and for men, prostate growth. There's also potential cardiovascular risk, especially in those high dose users. I'm talking about you, the pellet people. Okay. I've seen many people that have pellets that are on extremely high doses. And the problem with pellets is once you put them under your skin, like it's there and you can't really adjust the dose. And so, the standard dosing for injected is 50 to 200 milligrams a week for men. There's really no good studies on women, but we just do a miniature dose of that. And then you have to do ongoing monitoring to make sure that the doses are appropriate. Now, there's been a lot of controversy about whether women should be using testosterone or not. And I think not every woman needs testosterone. In fact, I think that there is risk associated with these hormones. Hormones are like playing with fire. You don't want too much. You don't want too little, but you definitely don't want too much. You want to stimulate your body to make more. Like exercising is an excellent way to boost your testosterone levels naturally. Women don't all need testosterone. I think it is something that you should test and decide with your doctor if it's right for you. I think the side effect profile and the risk profile is not small. And so I think it's a conversation that you can have with your doctor. I personally don't use it, but would I say I would never use it? No. So that's my take on that. Last controversial thing. Peptides. These are short chain amino acids that are used in supplements, skincare, and medications. You can get injections. That's the most common. There's oral capsules, lower absorption, topical creams or nasal sprays. So you might know like peptides are just like simple collagen peptides that you can take for your skin and elasticity. Great. In fact, I've changed my views on this. I think there's pretty good support, although that's not something I take all the time. There's bone-related peptides that are good for bone density. There are growth hormone secretagogues like CJC, sermorelin, and ipamorelin. These are IGF-1 boosters. There's tissue healing peptides, BPC-157, TB-500, thymosin alpha-1. These have some benefits in tendon and gut repair and inflammation, but the human trials are limited. And then there's like cognitive anti-aging ones, and they have some lab animal findings on cognition, neuroprotection, but they're really unregulated. There's safety concerns, obviously. There's largely long-term side effects are largely unknown. Purity and quality becomes an issue. So my thoughts on peptides is that if you were going to choose 5 to 10 things to do for your health, it would not make the list. For example, sleep and exercise and sunlight and not eating late and eating protein and fiber and probiotic foods and magnesium and omega-3s and vitamin D, like all of those things are much higher on the list. Now, if you're someone who likes to experiment and wants to have, small benefits, I don't say small, let's put it this way. In the large scheme of things, the other things that I mentioned are bigger needle movers. And these things are things that have some early evidence, but not the level of evidence that would make me want to do all of those. So do I say it's an absolute no? No. Do I say that there's potential side effects that we don't know yet about? Yes. So the way I feel about peptides is if there's a particular peptide that you want to take, you want to discuss this with your physician. For example, sermorelin is something that is very common. It's a growth hormone peptide. It's an analog, a secretagogue. And that is something that I see lots of people taking. I have tried it in the past. I don't see much of a difference, and that maybe that's just me. But I think that there is maybe some evidence that, as you get older, you need a little bit of a boost, but it doesn't make sense to me that you would do this over all the other things. That's why I didn't really do it, because I thought to myself, wait a second, if I don't have everything else dialed in, like that is not something that I need right now. When I do dial in the rest of it, maybe I will add these things. So that's kind of my take, but everybody has their individual takes. I might do a deeper dive into peptides with an expert one of these days, like I did with the GLP-1s. So stay tuned for that. So that's my take on this. So in summary, I think that if you were to optimize your health, you would want to first optimize your sleep and circadian rhythms. That means more sun, more sleep, more eating when it's day, more fasting when it's dark. That's kind of stuff is number one. Number two is nutrition. You want to get more fiber, more protein, more probiotic foods. You want to be optimizing your nutrition, minimizing the cigarettes, the alcohol, any kind of smoke, vapes, all that stuff. And you want to maximize the good things that you're putting in. So remember, your inputs create your outputs. And then after that, exercise. Exercise is literally at the top of this list. Exercise every single day. Exercise, including walking, including weight training, including yoga, including heat therapy, including balance work, stretch work, every kind of movement, and sitting on the floor. Like I was talking to when I did a podcast with the Starettes, we talked about how important it is to sit on the floor and how important it is to get up off the floor. And that's part of exercise that most people aren't doing. So walking, but also balance, and also sitting, and also standing. Exercise should be at the very, very top of that list. And then after that, want to do some mindset work. Like there is such good evidence. Oh my gosh, I've done so many good podcast episodes. You really want to get your mind right. Your mind is the gateway to all of the successes in your life, right? So believing in a higher power, this is maybe also a controversial thing, but believing in a higher power is actually been shown in studies to improve your health, improve your happiness, improve your risk of death. Like it doesn't matter to me what you believe in. It could just be the universe. It could be God. It could be anything you want. But having some kind of belief system is good for you if you develop it. Something that I kind of left off the table for many, many years. And then I put it back on. It's been a game changer. And so I highly recommend that based on the science. It's not my opinion. So that's that. You don't have to go to a house of worship if you don't want. You can just use it to frame your mindset and the way you talk to the world and yourself. So that's that. And then friendships. Friendships are, your relationship, if you have a significant other, and your relationship with your children, and your relationship with your siblings, and your relationship with your friends. It's very important to have just a few close relationships, even 3 to 5. That really makes a huge difference in your health and longevity, and how you look and feel and come out to the world. And so that's something I highly recommend. And then all of these things, GLP-1s and creatine and testosterone and peptides and all of this stuff is like after that. So I hope that helps you create some kind of framework in your mind. But yeah, I'm a fan of GLP-1 medications. I'm a fan of creatine. I'm a fan of hormones in the right setting. I'm a fan of peptides in the right setting. But I'm also like thinking that all of these things are after the main things: the exercise, the sleep, the circadian rhythms, the mindset, the food, the inputs that you put into your life. So I hope that's helpful and that clarifies things for you. And listen, I'm always up for your feedback. I'd love to hear your comments, your questions. I'd love to answer more questions that you've kind of reported to me. So this episode, by the way, was based on what I heard from you. So I hope this is helpful. I'm Dr. Amy Shah. I am so excited to do more episodes from this new studio with you. And I welcome your feedback and help with this. So thank you very much and have a great day.